What is aquaponics? Aquaponics is the combination of aquaculture and soilless farming known as hydroponics. Aquaculture is the farming of aquatic animals and plants such as fish, shellfish, seaweed, and algae for human use in controlled environments. Aquaculture generally is better for the environment as it bridges the supply and demand load of human consumption off of the global ecosystem. This industry has been rapidly growing over the past couple of decades, with China being the largest contributor with a market share of more than the rest of the world combined. But aquaculture does have its drawbacks. This method requires a lot of water changes to keep the animals healthy and thus becomes a burden on the limited amount of water that is available. They also use antibiotics and steroids that ends up being flushed back into the local ecosystem that causes environmental damages. Hydroponics is a method of growing plants without soil and feeds them a water solvent nutrient solution. This method became quite popular with the do-it-yourself backyard marijuana growers as a means of growing indoors. So even though this has been a major source of innovation for the indoor grower, it too is riddled with problems. The nutrient solution gets salty after a while, and can only be used for so long before it gets changed out for a fresh batch. All the leftovers gets dumped down the drain or dumped back into a local environment, causing other problems. These liquid fertilizers are mostly a combination of petroleum and lab-created compounds that are inorganic in nature. There are organic sources for this, but in general, most hydroponic farmers find them to be too tedious to try to make, as it increases the risk for growing illegal crops, as this adds more steps, creating more attention. Aquaponics solves these problems by combining the benefits and solving for the problems that these industries have. I'll use fish as my example for using and defining aquaponics. However, there are other sources that we can use, including human urine. Fish produce ammonia through their gills and provide nutrient-rich waste from their poo. This stuff is not good for fish, but is great for beneficial bacteria and worms that breaks these down into nutrients for the plants. In fact, this is the biofilter that is at the heart of how this whole operation works. From here, the plants take up these nutrients and grow like hardy weeds. Once an aquaponic system has matured, after 6 months to a year, you might have to invest in a weed whacker to keep the growth manageable. This system is a closed loop system. Water only needs to be added to compensate for plant use and evaporation. Aquaponics uses 5% of the water traditional field farming uses, and you get to farm fish with it too. Approximately 70% of all the fresh water humans use is for traditional, unsustainable agricultural use, including watering our lawns. Best of all, this has to be 100% organic in order for it to work. Any chemicals fish farms try to use to keep their fish healthy could easily affect and destroy the biofilters or the plants themselves. Bad filters and pesticides could easily kill the fish. But these are real problems, right? After all, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry to fend off these known issues. How do these problems get solved organically? Well, I'm glad you're wondering about this too. To say that there won't be any problems would be ignorant, but we can significantly reduce the exposures of pests and problems by controlling the environment. That, and the plants, the fish, the biofilter, all work symbiotically to solve these problems. In aquaculture and hydroponics, they have tried to isolate the basic needs of their crops and then make do with whatever they have left to try to solve their problems. Most of the time dumping bad things into the environment or compromising on the quality of their products. In aquaponics, you're using the best of nature to solve these problems. Millions of years of evolution have solved these problems, and when the system is strong and healthy, it makes it very hard for problems to intervene. By controlling the environment, it would take quite a punch to disrupt a healthy aquaponic system. And best of all, many studies have shown that there is no better way to grow plants, as it takes the best of nature and controls it with scientific understanding to monitor and perfect the growing conditions. Is aquaponics new? Nope, it's been around for thousands of years. It was the Chinese around the 6 millennia BC that had refined over thousands of years using ducks, fish, insects, rice plants to create the first working concept of an aquaponics system. The Aztecs, thousands of years later, built large artificial floating islands to grow crops on swamps as they did not have good land to grow on. The modern closed-loop system you see today stemmed on various research and projects from the 1970s, with much of it coming from the do-it-yourself innovations coming out of Australia with the help of sharing ideas through the internet. There has been many research projects and large commercial operations that have helped refine this industry. The next step for this industry is to get this technology to the masses as rapidly as we can. We need more people to get involved and invest into it in all its capacities. Whether it's something small like an apartment-sized herb garden or a backyard system that would feed a small family to a network of small commercial operations to feed a local community. We need them in schools to teach the next generation this revolution in agriculture. We need to measure where our calories are coming from, not in kilometers, but in feet. We should be within walking distance of most of our food. We need to feed ourselves independently from calories that have traveled thousands of kilometers by a dwindling supply of oil. And we need to do this before it's too late.